Welcome, guys. In this section, we will just try to cram the whole part of enzyme in biochemistry within 30 to 40 minutes maximum. Like it's more of an factual stuff than of an conceptual stuff. Though I will try to add few concepts then and there, which will help to crack a few tricky MCQs and save a huge amount of time. Okay, so let's get started. First discussing about the enzymes, the basics of the enzymes first. So what is an enzyme? All enzymes are proteins except exception. First exception is the ribozyme, and also RNA. RNA is it's not. It may appear like not as an enzyme, but it is an enzyme here. But ribozyme, it appears as an enzyme, but it not as an enzyme. These are the two exceptions we have just started the session with. And next thing is the serine proteases. Serine proteases all have most of them are serine proteases only, most of the enzymes, but the very characteristic feature of the serine proteases is that it has what is HAS then? Histamine, aspartate, and serine in the catalytic site, whereas the histidine and aspartate in the binding site. For example, the structure is seen in chymotrypsin also. It is a protein breaking enzyme. Aspartate and histidine are seen in the binding, and serine is in the supreme court SC. So serine is responsible for cutting, C cutting. It is also called as serine proteases. What are the examples then? Examples are trypsin, elastase, plasmin, thrombin, complement proteins, clotting factors 9 and 11, prostate specific antigen. So what is the significance of the serine proteases? Out of all the whole enzyme what is the significance of the serine proteases is that serine proteases have now recently discovered to have a role in tumor metastasis, as a result of which this is used as a marker nowadays for the identification of the tumor metastasis. And what is bye-bye reaction? So bye-bye reaction, any guesses? Nothing. Two substrates, two product reaction, that's it. One product oxidized, another side is two oxidized and reduced, both reaction occurring in the same reaction. It's called as the bye-bye reaction. Two substrates and two products. One substrate, both the substrates are getting oxidized. One substrate is getting oxidized to the another one product, and another substrate is getting reduced to form the other product. So two substrate, two product reaction. So what are the types? Ordered thing is the ordered, random, and ping pong. Okay, so ordered is mostly dehydrogenases, random is mostly kinases. Ping pong reaction, so ping pong reaction is owned by serine proteases and aminotransferases, SGOT and SGPT. Then coming to the mutagenesis, no, nothing new, just remember only one word. When we intervene, when we medically intervene to increase the property of an enzyme, to increase the efficiency, or maybe increase the desired effect produced from the enzyme, that is called as the site specific or directed mutagenesis. For example, I just said about serine. Now serine at the catalytic site is mutated to proline by changing the codon UCA to CCA. Okay, UCA codes for serine, CCA codes for proline. So when the UCA is changed to CCA, we get a proline, and this is called as a directed mutagenesis. Most of the time the results are not positive. Okay, and then one fact I would like to say here is the oligonucleotide with a single base change is used in the site directed mutagenesis, and the single mutation is detected by where is the how by which mechanism we are detecting the single mutation is the RFLP, restriction fragment length polymorphism, RFLP. Okay, and then properties of the enzymes, we just know it. Only one different point I would like to stress here: it decreases the activating energy, and it does not change the equilibrium of the reaction. Other things you will know more than enough. And next, coming to the cofactor and the prosthetic groups, only one basic point I would like to start with is that prosthetic group cannot be separated from the enzyme, whereas the cofactor can be separated. So first we will discuss about active enzyme. So what are active enzyme? It has an apoenzyme protein portion, and coenzyme, it is a non-protein portion. So we will we will focus more about the non-protein portion or the coenzyme. So as I have said that these group can further be classified into depending upon the degree of separation. When it can be separated from the enzyme, it is called as a cofactor. When it is not called as a prosthetic group. Prosthetic group mostly an inorganic metal, mostly a metal. So these enzyme group are also called as metal enzymes. Just coming to the cofactor. Cofactor, it's an organic and inorganic. Inorganic, same metal is there. So metal activated enzymes, but they are not metallozymes. Okay, metal activated enzymes, but acts as a cofactor. That is called as an inorganic metal activated enzymes. Whereas the organic compound which presents in the which acts as the coenzyme is the coenzyme. Okay, organic cofactor is coenzyme, which means that all coenzymes are cofactor, whereas all cofactors are not coenzymes. This is a tricky part. Okay, all coenzymes are cofactors, because under cofactor only we are studying coenzyme. Okay, enzyme using metals as cofactor are known as metal activated enzyme, as I've said. And metals using prosthetic groups, metals are used as prosthetic group, they are called as metallozymes. Okay, then coming to the coenzymes on the we can classify into lipoic acid, vitamins and nucleotides. So nucleotides, you know that NAD, NADP, FAD and FMN. Whereas lipoic acid, it is not a vitamin. This is repeatedly asked a very favorite question. Lipoic acid is a coenzyme but not a vitamin. And coenzymes, we know that majority of the B complexes, vitamin C and fat soluble vitamin K only. Among all the AEDK, only vitamin K is used as an coenzyme here. So what is the function it is getting involved is the gamma carboxylation of the glutamate residues of the clotting factors 2, 7, 9, 10. Okay, just remember that this gamma carboxylation 2, 7, 9, 10, where what is used? Vitamin K. Fat soluble only one. Vitamin B and vitamin C, all water soluble. The nucleated derivatives include SAM and PAPS. This is what I have just said. What is SAM? What is PAPS? Are they coenzymes? No, they are not coenzymes. They are just nucleated derivatives. So what are they acting? So what is the main function? It is just to act as a donor. SAM's S-adenosyl methyl donor, methyl donor. PAPS phosphoadenosyl phosphosulfate, sulfate. So sulfate donor. Okay. Remember. These are not coenzymes. And then copper and molybdenum. So copper is required for all oxidases with two exceptions. First I will say the oxidases involving copper: cytochrome oxidase, cytochrome C oxidase, importantly cytochrome C oxidase, tyrosinase, ascorbic acid oxidase, amino acid oxidase, and lysyl oxidase, cytoplasmic superoxidase mutase. Okay, then what is molybdenum for? So molybdenum is for mitochondrial SOD, cytosolic SOD, copper is needed. Mitochondrial SOD, manganese is needed. Okay, that is the difference I would like to say. For molybdenum, two enzymes, xanthine oxidase and sulfate oxidase. Though oxidizes only, but they do not require copper. But then what they require? They require molybdenum. Cytochrome oxidase, I said now, it requires copper. It also requires iron too. Okay, then coming to the isoenzymes. So what are isoenzymes? Basically distinct form of enzymes, but catalyze the same reaction. Same where these reaction same between isoenzymes, different isoenzymes, they have different structure. For example, remember twin. Okay, first twin is not equal to a second twin, right? So they have different set of genes, different km, different vmax, different electrophoretic mobility. Example, LDH1, LDH2, LDH3, LDH4, LDH5, or maybe CK1, CK2. That kind of enzymes come, that kind of similar enzymes, but different properties of enzymes comes under a different isoenzyme. Same isoenzymes are the groups where they form catalyze the same reaction, they act as the same enzyme, they belong to the same group. So those are the same between isoenzymes. So then coming to the LDH enzymes. LDH enzyme, very clinically important point. LDH 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just remember, first is for the heart, last one is for the muscle and liver. Okay, otherwise you can use other. Then the third LDH3. LDH3 is mostly present in. Then so coming to the subunit part. Subunit part is kind of a tricky part. Just remember that first part I said it is present in heart rate. So 4 subunits are made up of HH units. LDH5 present in muscle and liver. It is made up of 4 MMM units, 4 M units. Okay, and what happens to LDH2? LDH2 3H1M blood WBC is a functional plasma enzyme. Recently asked a question. LDH3 2H2M brain, kidney, lungs is the main organ. And then LDH4 3M 1H muscle and liver only. Then what is the difference between LD4 and LD5? As I have said below, LDH1 4M units, whereas LD4 is 3M and 1H units. So what is the predominant function of the liver? What is the predominant function, LDH or LD4? One question is being asked. It is LDH. Okay, LDH is the more predominant function than the 4. In normal persons, usually LD2 is elevated than LDH, but in myocardial infarction, it acts as a marker. Which marker? LD1 acts as a marker. So the LD1 will be more than LDH2 in case of myocardial infarction. So this is called as the flipped ratio. Then electrophoretic mobility, smaller the number, higher the mobility. Larger the number, it is far away, so low, least the mobility. That is the thing. Nothing else. We don't need anything. And then coming to the creatine kinase. So creatine kinase also 1, 2, 3. Brain and muscle. First brain, last muscle. Here also I said about first heart, last muscle, because H and M we dealt with here, but we are dealing with M and B. So second one is muscle, and both muscle and brain. Second CK2 is raised in MI. CK2 here, LD1, LDH1 and CK2 raised in MI. Okay, and then MI okay. Enzymes and proteins that are raised in MI. Just enzymes raised in MI. First enzymes we saw LDH1 raised, okay, accepted. CK2 raised, accepted. AST, SGOT raised, accepted, okay. But are these the most specific thing? No, they are not the most specific, or and also the not earliest. Then what are the earliest and the specific? They are the proteins only. Myoglobulin, 2 to 6 hours earliest marker, but not specific. Then what is the specific? Troponin IE, actin myosin inhibiting ATPase. It is the most specific cardiac marker. Okay, proteins are the specific and the earliest, not the enzymes. Just have this as a clue, and because many major of the questions are revolving around this topic only. So what are the troponins here? So troponin C, calcium binding. Troponin I, actin myosin inhibitory ATPase binding protein, most specific cardiac marker. Troponin T, tropomyosin binding. Brain natriuretic peptide BNP, marker for cardiac failure. IAM, recently identification is the IMA, ischemia modified albumin, new cardiac marker. And coming to the hexokinases, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Type 4 is the glucokinase, we know. It is used in glycolysis reaction, and type 2 is the most abundant form. It is also asked. Then what is the difference between hexokinase and glucokinase? Just remember, hexokinase phosphorylates everything. Glucokinase only specific for glucose. Hexokinase, as I said, it is specific, it is present everywhere, so phosphorylates everything. Glucokinase is present only in liver and pancreas, and the same property as that of GLUT4. Then coming to the biochemical entity, just remember it has high affinity. Hexokinase, low, so I mean this one. What is the glucokinase? Low affinity. Then how to derive other points from here? So high affinity means low substrate. Low substrate means low Km. Low Km means low Vmax. Okay. Coming to the glucokinase, low affinity. So low affinity means more substrate is required. So more substrate means more high Km. High Km means high Vmax is required. And we know that glucokinase is activated in the fed state, so it is induced by insulin, whereas it is inhibited by insulin, whereas the feedback inhibition occurs by the glucose 6 phosphate. So the hexokinase discussion is also over. Coming to the enzyme classification. Enzyme classification you have to know, because EC numbers are being repeatedly asked. So I will just try to give a small sandwich section. EC number 1, oxidative reductive oxidative reductions. And then EC number, so any enzyme name you need to know means, like I will just have a clue here. When we discuss about lyases, I will just say the clue here. First I will just say the examples of the oxidoreductases: transfer of electrons, hydrogens, or H atoms, or maybe addition of oxygen, anything. Okay, cytochrome C oxidase, tyrosinase, NAD, FAD, NADP, glutathione peroxidase, catalase, mono and dioxygenase. Everything can be said under oxygenases. Okay, and then coming to the transferases, any transfer of any molecule, any chemical substance happens means that is transferases. EC number is 2. Molecular formula is changed, that is a differentiating feature. Okay, hydrolysis, from the name we can say that 3 is the breaking. So use H2O to break. Hydrolysis of substrate using water. Enzymes which break down macromolecules remain phosphate from a substrate. So phosphatase, it is a hydrolase. Okay, phosphatase is a hydrolase. First exception here. Transferases you can just get from the name, like methyl transferase, aminotransferase, phosphorylase. Phosphorylase is a transferase. Relase transferase. Okay, but phosphatase hydrolase. Okay, tricky part here. And then lyases we can make or break, but anything. Okay, we can make anything or we can break anything, but without disturbing any bond or addition or removal of a water molecule from the main compound. So these are in the lyases. Just to only focus upon the lyases: synthases, aldolases, decarboxylases, hydrase. Everything is a tricky here. Hydrase, we will think about hydrolase. Decarboxylase, we will think about oxidoreductase. Aldolases, we may think about the other group. Synthases, we will think about the ligases, because ligases have synthetase, long name, so it's very big easy number. Okay, so have it this way. But simple decarboxylation reaction, but only one exception being that oxidative decarboxylase is easy number one. Okay, but other decarboxylases, lyases only focus on the lyases, synthases, aldolases, decarboxylase, hydratase. Okay, isomerases, racemase, mutase, epimerases, you can easily guess. And ligase, carboxylase, synthetase, carboxylase easy number 6, oxidative decarboxylase easy number 1, other decarboxylase easy number 4, synthase ligase easy number 4, synthetase ligase easy number 6. Okay, then a few points about mono and dioxygenases. Monooxygenases mixed function oxidase, because when H2O is added, one molecule of O adds to the substrate and another molecule of O combines with the hydrogen and attaches the OH group to the product. So because of this attachment, this are always called as mixed reaction. Example, phenylalanine hydroxylase, it converts phenylalanine to tyrosine, and cytochrome P450, hydroxylation of steroid hormones. Okay, then what are the exceptions are there in medicines, right? So both the prolyl and lysyl hydroxylases or hydroxylase are PL, prolyl lysyl hydroxylase or diogenase. Okay, then another one exception, nitric oxide synthase. From the synthase you may think that, or you may guess that it is EC number 4, but major blunder. Synthases usually belong to EC number 4, but nitric oxide synthase belong to EC number 1. This is another exception. Okay, and dioxygenases add two oxygens. Homogeneous oxidase deficiency causes alkaptonuria, you know very much. Hydrolases, all breaking. Okay, all breaking substances, because we are using water to break. So digestion, phosphatase, I said na, phosphatase, but phosphorylase is a transferase. Okay, and then carbohydrate breaking, amylase, lactase, sucrase, maltase, isomaltase, protein breaking, protease, peptidase, arginase, urease, lipid breaking, lipase, esterase, phospholipase, nucleic acid breaking, nuclease, exonuclease, internuclease, and restriction internuclease. So by this way we have just completed this enzyme classification. Three major section, or maybe the three high yielding sections of the enzyme is over, and we have just covered everything in 15 minutes. Then coming to the next section, enzyme kinetics, very important and recent favorite for examiners. I will just try to say only the trick points here, so that it can be used in examination to solve the many tricky and deceiving MCQs out there. So what is enzyme kinetics? Introduction, study of velocity and the rate of enzyme reaction. Use of enzyme kinetics, why are we using? To understand mechanism of an enzyme, to know various steps in a reaction. So what is the purpose main? We have to analyze, diagnose and treatment of a disease, ultimate aim of medicine. So using enzymes are a target for drugs, yes, and also designing for pro drugs based on the enzyme activation, yes, very much accepted. So how the enzymes are target for drugs? Allopurinol, which is used in a gout treatment, it inhibits xanthine oxidase, because allopurinol in the presence of xanthine oxidase forms a product. That product in turn inhibits. Okay, I will just explain it later, just have it that way. Designing of prodrugs, flyfluorouracil, it activates into, it's a prodrug, it gets activated to 2-deoxyflyfluorouridylic acid, active drug that inhibits the thiometylate synthase. This enzyme may interfere with the thymine synthesis. Okay, it inhibits thymine synthesis. So when we inhibit this, we can just favor that reaction. Okay, then how we are just going to take everything from here means, we are just going to study the velocity of the reaction with respect to enzyme concentration, substrate concentration, and Km, Michaelis Menten constant, Vmax, V0, like that. We are just comparing the velocity of the reaction with these variables. So velocity is taken in y-axis and these variables are taken in the x-axis. Variables, enzyme concentration, substrate concentration, temperature, pH, and inhibitors. First, linear state graph. When velocity is velocity versus enzyme concentration, we get a linear graph, which means that enzyme concentration increases, velocity also increases. Okay, So enzyme concentration is directly proportional to the velocity. So velocity we can just substitute k cat, okay, k catalysis. So E is equal to k cat into enzyme concentration. First equation over straight line. Next, coming to the substrate concentration. Here is where the trick part of the enzyme kinetics starts. Initially, as substance concentration increases, velocity increases proportionately accepted. After that, saturation is reached. First trick, after which the velocity remains constant. Second trick. So as a result of which the enzyme is kept constant at this experiment. As a result, we will get to a rectangular hyperbola. That is the, this is the thing, this constant saturation of the substrate concentration which is attached to after a period of velocity is called as the substrate concentration. This velocity gives the rectangular hyperbola, which is the result of the velocity versus the substrate concentration. Then in order to study this kind of reactions, we introduced a constant is called as the Michaelis-Menten constant. So what does Michaelis-Menten constant? Km is defined as the Km, just remember Km is nothing but a substrate concentration. The substrate concentration at which the Vmax is half, okay, at the half the Vmax, the Km is equal to the substrate concentration. Just have it that way. Km is the same or nothing but same as that of this specific substrate concentration. So the unit is also millimoles per liter or maybe moles per liter. Okay, then Km, no constant. Km is nothing. Km has nothing to do with any constant. It's just the Michaelis-Menten constant. Okay, so it has the same units as that of the substrate. Then okay, Km, we know that substrate is inversely proportional to affinity, but substrate is directly proportional to Km. So you can have that when Km is large, less is the affinity. Km is large, substrate is more. Km is less, substrate is less, but more is the affinity. Then Km does not change with the change in either enzyme or substrate concentration. Yes, very much accepted because it is a constant. But in case of competitive inhibition, okay, trick comes here. But in case of competitive inhibition, affinity increases. Why? Because there is an decrease in interaction between the substrate and enzyme in case of competitive inhibition. So affinity always increases, which means that Km increases. Affinity decreases, Km increases. Km is the signature of the enzyme. It is a constant value of a particular enzyme. It is a different value for different enzymes. Even for isoenzymes like LDH 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, CK 1, 2, 3. Okay, mutation can change the Km value of an enzyme. Very, very important. And coming to the Michaelis-Menten equation, I will just say that V0 is equal to Vmax into substrate concentration by Km plus substrate concentration. When but we know that Vmax is equal to K cat into enzyme concentration. So we can also substitute that and find the solution we need to solve the MCQs. When a substrate concentration is very less than or maybe negligible than Km concentration, we take the denominator Km Michaelis constant plus S is equal to Km. So which means that V0 is equal to Vm into substrate concentration by Km. We know that V0 is directly proportional to substrate concentration, as Vmax and Km are constant here. So this is called as the first order kinetics. Okay, first order kinetics. In second order kinetics, substrate concentration is very more than the Km. So Km is very much negligible. So we are just eliminating it. So V0 is equal to Vmax into substrate concentration by substrate concentration. Substrate concentration cancels. So V0 is equal to Vmax. That is the zero order kinetics. It becomes equal in zero order kinetics. So okay, then what happens when substrate concentration is equal to Km? From the definition itself, we can get that if we understood the definition better, there is no need for calculation itself. V0 is equal to Vmax by 2. Okay, then okay, everything is being complicated, getting complicated. So this Lineweaver bug, what he did means he studied a plot called as the straight line plot, double reciprocal plot. What he did means he just reciprocated the equation of the Michaelis-Menten equation. For example, we know that V0 is equal to Vmax into substrate concentration by K M plus substrate. Okay, which we just separated everything, and he got simplified into Vm by Km into substrate concentration plus Vmax. He got it by taking the reciprocal. He just plotted the graph. Okay, here the slope is equal to Km by Vmax, and then by what is the advantage, because we can able to study different various other group of enzymes like simple and allosteric enzyme. In case of a simple enzyme, the velocity of the enzyme reaction versus substrate concentration is studied, and we got the same rectangular hyperbola, because in simple reaction the active site is the same. There is no allosteric site, there is no other side, only one side. So anything, even when it's activation or maybe the inhibition or maybe the forward enzyme activity, when the enzyme has to be attached to the enzyme, sorry, maybe substrate has to be attached to only one site is there, so there is a rectangular hyperbola. Then what is the difference between simple and allosteric enzyme is that allosteric enzyme, it has an other site. That other site, inhibitor can be attached, activator can be attached, but another site, separate site for a separate attachment in the enzyme is there. So then what is the shape of the graph we get here? It is the sigmoidal graph. When velocity versus a substrate concentration is studied in case of allosteric or regulatory enzymes, we get an sigmoidal graph. Okay, then what are the other inference points we can get from this? Is the this attachment of the activator or any regulator in the allosteric site induces conformational change in the active site so that the substrate can or cannot bind. In other words, substrate binding is affected by the presence of an regulator. Okay, just have it that way. And sigmoidal graph is seen, was very very important. This is, and in the second phase there is an degree of cooperativity. There is an sudden increase in velocity. I mean the slope increases very much. Why it happens? Because in the second phase of the sigmoidal graph, there is an cooperativity property. So one substrate binding to the enzyme increases the affinity for other substrates for the enzymes. Okay, then coming to the next thing, this is more than enough these things. And coming to the this uh, velocity versus temperature and pH, bell-shaped curve is present. Then what is the significance of the bell-shaped? Because at higher temperature or higher pH, or maybe lower temperature or lower pH, the enzyme is getting denatured, so it is not getting activated. So only the optimal pH and optimal temperature, only the enzyme is in optimal function. For example, in humans the optimal temperature is 37 degrees Celsius or 45 to 55 degrees Celsius, either of the options, but best answer is 37 degrees Celsius, and optimal pH is 5 to 9. Then enzyme inhibitors, just see the images alone, just see the images, just don't confuse anything. Okay, competitive inhibitor, non-competitive inhibitor, and uncompetitive inhibitor. Okay, in competitive inhibitor there is a competition. So competition means the velocity Vmax has to be same, because everyone has to be same in a competition. So then on what basis the competition is going to take place? It is the Km. On basis of Km should increase to win the competition. Okay, so Km increases, Vmax must remain the same. When Km increases, affinity decreases. Just remember these three lines. Okay, in case of non-competitive inhibition, there is no competition, so Vmax is the problem there. So Vmax is decreased. Remember, Vmax is everywhere decreased. There is no place Vmax is increased in our study. So Vmax is decreased. So Vmax is decreased. There's a no competition there. So the Km goes and sleeps. There is constant Km here. Okay, and just to see the images, and also you can see that in non-competitive inhibition, the my Km for that inhibitor reaction and no inhibitor reaction remains the same. That is why Km is constant there. Okay, and what is uncompetitive inhibition? Both decreased, Km also decreased, Vmax also decreased, and this is a straight graph. Okay, and we have just completed the very very complicated section. We just took around 25 26 27 minutes. It's a good time only. In another 12 minutes we will be completing the other two minor sections. Okay, then coming to the, I will just take 5 minutes for each topic. Competitive inhibition, non-competitive inhibition, uncompetitive, allosteric, feedback, suicidal, and enzyme uses. Competitive inhibition. So competitive inhibition, inhibitor resembles a substrate in the structure. Inhibitor and substrate complex for binding at active site. So in competitive inhibition, the affinity between the enzyme and substrate decreases. Affinity decreases, so Km increases. Okay, so Km increases, substrate concentration should be increasing. Okay, so Vmax remains the same. Vmax only, no problem. Competition, Vmax must be made same. Okay, accepted. Next, coming to non-competitive inhibition. So non-competitive inhibition, substrate do not resemble inhibitor. Okay, so no competition. So Vmax is decreased. Kmax must remain constant. So Kmax when remains constant, substrate concentration is remain constant. Affinities also remain constant only. So that is non-competitive inhibitors. Then it's a few examples. We saw that the arsenate inhibits glycerol 3 phosphate in glycolysis. Oxamate inhibits lactate dehydrogenase. Malonate, succinate CoA in ETC and TCA cycle we saw. And fluorocitrate, this is an important here. Fluorocitrate competitively inhibits aconitase. Okay, accepted. Fluorocitrate non-competitively inhibits aconitase. Okay, arsenate non-competitively inhibits alpha ketoglutarate, but arsenate competitively inhibits glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. So how to remember? fluoroacetate, aconitase, AA, or arsenate, alpha ketoglutarate, AA, both same non-competitive inhibition, both not same. Arsenate glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, flucocitrate, aconitase, it is competitive inhibition. Okay, sulfonamides antibacterial, PABA analog, inhibits folic acid synthesis in bacteria, it is used as an antibacterial. Methotrexate inhibits dihydrofolate reductase to tetrahydrofolate reductase, a vital reaction in humans, so anti-cancerous activity. Ticagrelor, vitamin K analog, so anticoagulant. Ethanol, alcohol dehydrogenase inhibitor, everything is a competitive inhibitor. So it's only I am just saying. Statin, HMG CoA reductase, rate limiting enzyme for cholesterol synthesis. Okay, accepted. Then coming to the non-competitive inhibitor, iodoacetate, we saw glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, then what is the competitive inhibitor for glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate? Is the arsenate. Okay, accepted. What is the non-competitive inhibitor substrate for arsenate? Is the alpha ketoglutarate. Okay, accepted. Fluoroacetate, non-competitive inhibitor for aconitase. Okay, fluoroacetate, what is the competitive inhibitor? The fluoroacetate competitive inhibitor is the aconitase. Just don't fluorocitrate, aconitase. Okay, citrate, aconitase, competitive inhibition. But fluoroacetate, competitive inhibition for aconitase. So same aconitase, two inhibitions are there. Just note that point. Cyanide, it inhibits complex 4 of the electron transport chain. In heavy metals, it inhibits the sulfhydryl group present in the active site of many enzymes, and dimercaprol, disulfiram, and diisopropyl fluorophosphate. Okay, serine proteases. Okay, then I said that in uncompetitive inhibition is also called as the anti-competitive inhibition. Both Km and Vmax are getting decreased. Why? Because inhibitor only binds to the electron substrate complex. What is the example of uncompetitive inhibitor? Then acetylcholine inhibits placental alkaline phosphatase. Okay, so that is the uncompetitive. Allosteric inhibition, allosteric site. Okay, I'll just say the difference between allosteric inhibition and non-competitive inhibition. Allosteric inhibition or inhibition, it occurs naturally in the body during fed state, during fasting state. Whereas non-competitive inhibition, it is induced or maybe it is produced. It is only inhibition, only no activation. Occurs due to unnatural substances such as the drugs. Suicidal inhibition or mechanism-based inhibition. Allopurinol inhibits xanthine oxidase by a proper mechanism. I said, and I will just explain it later. This is what is allopurinol in presence of xanthine oxidase converted into oxypurinol. This oxypurinol inhibits xanthine oxidase. This is xanthine oxidase responsible for uric acid metabolism. As a result of it, hyperuricemia or maybe gout can be controlled by using allopurinol. This oxypurinol is also called as oxyprim or alloxanthine. This mechanism is called as the suicidal mechanism. Another example is aspirin, which is a suicidal inhibitor for cyclooxygenase. We know it very much. Then what is the difference between feedback inhibition and suicidal inhibition? Same. Feedback inhibition naturally occurring. All enzymes, all hormones, everything undergoes feedback inhibition. But whereas suicidal inhibition is an unnaturally occurring phenomenon. Same as how a non-competitive occurs for unnatural substances, whereas allosteric occurs for natural substances. We are just saying these two substances also. Then coming to the enzyme uses. So enzyme uses main. What is the main uses? Because for diagnosis of diseases associated with SGOT, SGBT for liver diseases. Okay, accepted. Lactase. So what is the disease? Lactase diagnosed disease, lactose intolerance, lactamase, penicillin allergy. We can give to breakdown mechanism of action. Breakdown of beta lactam ring, urokinase, streptokinase, intravascular clots. Recent treatment converts plasminogen to plasmin. So plasmin can be used as a lysing agent for clots. Okay, then trypsin, chymotrypsin, we know enzyme protein degradators. So for pain and inflammation, chronic pain and sprain patients, proteases cause breakdown of proteins present at site of inflammation, relieve pain. Collagenases, scar tissue minimization. And then pepsin, pancreatic insufficiency and chronic indigestion. Asparaginase, very important, recent hot topic. Asparaginase or glutaminase for used for ALL. The cancer cells has high demand for aspirin and asparagine and glutamine. These enzymes break down these two, asparaginase and glutamine amino acid, that inhibits the cancer growth and effectively causing their death. Very important question. And uricase for gout and alpha-1 antitrypsin for emphysema. This is also very important. So what it does means the efficiency of the alpha-1 antitrypsin is made up by supplying external enzyme. Okay, these are the very important things are the lactamase for the beta lactam, urokinase for clot, chymotrypsin, trypsin chymotrypsin for the pain in reduction of inflammation, Asparagine is a very very important hot topic. Then coming to the last topic, enzyme regulation. So enzyme regulation, I just said that allosteric how it happens. Then coming to the directly to the covalent modification. Most common covalent modification for the enzyme is the phosphorylation and dephosphorylation. We very very know that fed state insulin dephosphorylates anabolic environment, fasting state glucagon phosphorylate catabolic enzymes activation. Then compartmentalization. So what is compartmentalization? Different enzymes are kept in different components or compartments of cell for regulating their use for various pathways depending upon the conditions of the cell or tissues. Acetyl CoA is required for folic acid synthesis in the cytoplasm, while the substrate acetyl CoA is produced inside the mitochondria. So whenever when there is need, only the acetyl CoA moves from the mitochondria to the cytoplasm for the fatty acid synthesis. Okay. The fatty acid synthesis because the glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm, makes us accepted, but pyruvate is present in the mitochondria. Okay, so what happens means this pyruvate is converted into acetyl CoA in the mitochondria. This mitochondria has to be shuttled to the cytoplasm so that only fatty acid synthesis can occur. Okay, this is the control here. Okay, the vice versa also occurs where because beta oxidation of fatty acids occurs in this reaction where in the mitochondria. Okay, we need more energy, we need to break down. So what happens means is the beta oxidation of fatty acid is it's a catabolic reaction that occurs in the mitochondria. So the activation of fatty acids releases acyl CoA. This acyl CoA from the cytoplasm moves into the mitochondria where beta oxidation occurs. Okay, so producing the energy. Then rate of synthesis and degradation of the enzymes. Rate of synthesis of enzymes is regulated at the level of the genes. Accordingly, there are two types of genes: housekeeping gene and inducible gene. Housekeeping gene always active. For example, TCA cycle enzyme genes are expressed at all times in all cell. As TCA cycle is required to function under all conditions, that is the reason why TCA is neither fed nor fast. No any cycle, nothing, no regulator, no, I mean no dependable factor for TCA. It happens everywhere in all cells. No fed state, no fasting state, no starvation. Then what is inducible genes? Induced to express whenever required. For example, gluconeogenesis enzyme genes are induced to express only during fasting and repressed under normal condition using various hormonal mechanisms. We know very much. Then rate of degradation of the enzymes. So depending upon whether an enzyme is required for longer or shorter period of duration in a cell, it is degraded and can either be degradation can be either be slowed down or increased respectively. This way, total activity of the enzyme can be either increased or decreased in the cell according to the situation. Two modes, like how we have rate of synthesis degradation of enzyme, two genes are there: housekeeping genes and inducible gene. In the degradation of enzymes also we have two pathway: lysosomal pathway and ubiquitin proteasome pathway. So ubiquitin pathway is very very important. Lysosomal is not specific, ATP independent. The enzyme involved is acid hydrolysis. It can break down many protein and other macromolecule non-specifically, so it is not very much preferred, but it's naturally occurring pathway. But ubiquitin proteasome pathway is a specific pathway, it is specialized pathway. It requires ATP. It's a regulated pathway. Okay, occurs in cytoplasm and nucleus. Okay, occurs in cytoplasm and nucleus both, but not mitochondria. No information mentioned regarding mitochondria. Proteins undergoing degradation is first tagged with the ubiquitin protein, which is conserved during evolution, because we have been conserving this protein so that any not unnecessary protein particles can be degraded by attaching this ubiquitin. This ubiquitin gives the signal for the body's own host defense mechanisms to kill these cells. Then synthesis of inactive zymogens. Enzymes are synthesis in inactive enzymes at the site of production. Yes, site of production, inactive site. When needed, this inactive state is converted into active state and action is derived. For example, proteolytic enzymes produced from pancreas for digestion of food need to be activated form in the intestine only, where actual digestion happens. So these enzymes are synthesized in inactive form in pancreas and activated in intestine. Chymotrypsinogen inactive form, but is converted into chymotrypsin during action. Similarly, trypsinogen inactive form, it is converted into trypsin for by this way I have just completed everything in another within 40 minutes. More than this, no question is going to be asked. Even if it is asked, you can just use these key points and solve the few MCQs, or maybe you can eliminate three options and a question out there. When you it will definitely help you a lot. Okay, and also as I'm just saying it in every other video, it is not definitely not useful for the first time readers and university exam goers, or maybe first time newly reading. It is not a knowledgeable content itself, but what is the main purpose of this kind of videos is that any person who has just completed first read or second read but they don't know where they stand, and they just don't know, because we can't just go through everything, every other piece of information whatever we are reading in the first read, and we first read during our second and third reads, because time is a very very important factor being out there. So I just came up with this kind of plan after seeing many kind of students saying that like they didn't know what to pick and what to lose, because they were not able to choose many between many tricky and important points out there. There is no point finding the reading the variety of inferences than reading only one main mechanism behind that concept. That is the thing I still believe. So that is the main purpose of this video, and just keep working. All the best. Thank you.